and welcome to the Overlook Drive-In. The Overlook Hotel was built over a century ago on an old Native American burial ground. Just recently, we added a beautiful state-of-the-art drive-in screen out back. You don't just get a peaceful, cozy stay at the Overlook, but you get to enjoy one of the finest outdoor cinemas as well. At the Overlook Drive-In, we don't just watch and review major motion picture films. Here, we rank them too. If you need anything at all, please don't hesitate to ask. My name is Zach. We hope you enjoy your stay. Enjoy the show, and if you will, please follow Mr. Grady to room 237. He will take care of you.
What's going on, everybody? This is the Overlook Drive-In, episode number 5, our second live episode, and tonight we are talking Halloween H20. That's right, released in 1998, 20 years after the anniversary of the original Halloween. Apologies off the intro, or out of the intro there. I think it might have shown Halloween 4 and not Halloween H20. I wasn't really paying attention. But try not to let that happen again if that's what it did show. Joining me this evening, as always, he's my co-host here at the Overlook Drive-In. It's Mr. Bish, Mr. Mike Bish. What's going on, man?
Good, man. Good to be here. It is Halloween Ends week, man. I'm super excited. I know everybody in the chat is excited. Obviously, tonight is the world premiere for Halloween Ends. Over in LA and other cities as well, getting some early screenings. So super excited for that, man. Just a couple days away, and what better way to kick it off than with this movie, your favorite movie? I love it. For me, this is back-to-back episodes of movies that I absolutely love and adore. So I'm in like Overlook heaven right now. Although I might feel like room 237 might be a little hostile tonight.
Man, I don't think Mr. Grady is going to be bringing you to heaven anytime soon, but I'm going to go out on a limb with that one. What's the show containing tonight, you ask? Well, we'll let you know. We're going to talk what the show's about, upcoming content on the channel. In our coming attractions section, which is our news segment, we're going to give our final preview for Halloween Ends. What's next for Friday the 13th, and Mike reviews House of the Dragon. I might provide some of my thoughts as well. And then we dive inside Halloween H20, about our first time seeing it, about the film, facts, the Rotten Tomatoes reception, story and pacing, acting, cinematography, writing and directing, and sound and score are on the scorecards for tonight, followed by best kills, the Overlook MVP, and scorecard results. I'm stoked, man. I gotta be honest. I think you might be surprised with my scorecard. I think I've been waiting.
Doubt it. I doubt it. I doubt it. But no, man, super excited again. Well, that's a hell of a lineup, and it was a good show last week for our first live show. Appreciate everybody that tuned in. And one of the things that stuck out to me last week, Sean, that I really loved was the chat engagement. Our chats are always pretty jumping and popping, but last week was better than I think me and you could expect, and we appreciate everybody in the chat, and we hope it's the same tonight. Sean asked a really good question to pop off the Overlook Drive-In, Sean, and what was that question?
Who is your favorite character in Halloween H20? Comment down below. We would love to hear your thoughts. There's a few of them already in the chat that we'll read right out of the gate. And then don't forget, we have a Q&A section that happens. I forgot to list that in the notes here. There's a Q&A section of the show where if you're not sending in a super chat to interrupt what we're doing, we will get to just the normal questions and comments in the chat right before we dive inside Halloween H20, but after the coming attractions. Jesse said that he loves H2O, doesn't get enough credit. Entertainment Wizard says Laurie. Mark Andre says Michael Myers. Dean says Sheriff Barker. No, I'm kidding. Michael. Jesse says Laurie's boyfriend. Played by Adam Arkin. Adam Arkin is a fantastic actor. And, that kind of is a little bit of a theme with this movie is say what you want about it. You can't really knock the acting and the cast that's in the movie at all. Linton says Michael. NMJ says Laurie or Michael. Manny Morales says LL Cool J. I dug his character. What was his character? Rodney? Was that his name?
Yeah, I thought it was good too. I thought he did. I mean, better than other ones that definitely stick out in other movies.
Like the one that follows? Is that where you were getting with that one?
I mean, honestly, Sean, if we're being honest, I'd take Rodney over almost every character in Resurrection.
Yeah, I don't know if that's going out on a.
Yeah, true, you're right. You're right. I just wanted to put that in perspective.
Awesome. So let me ask you this, man, right out of the gate, before we get into like the nitty gritty behind Halloween H2O, which is the scorecard, the details behind the filming. Maybe just let the audience know what was your first time seeing this film? What do you remember about seeing Halloween H2O?
I was super young, so honestly, my first impressions of it was very kind of like, as far as me remembering, I don't remember too much. It was the first Halloween movie that I did see in the theater. I was very young, very, very young. I was like 6 years old, I believe, 7 years old. So I was very young, but it came right after a time I had first saw the original Halloween and then Halloween 4. And, I had gone through all the ones that were out, and, this one hit the theaters. And, of course, I don't remember exactly how I got there. I just remember that I went with, man, I struggle with this on my podcast too. I think it was with my uncle. I think it was with my uncle or my mom. I honestly can't remember particularly for this film, but I just remember seeing Michael on the big screen for the first time. And although I'm not the biggest fan of, which I don't hate this Michael, but just seeing him on the big screen freaked me out as a kid. It was probably one of the times that really sticks out to where I was really, really terrified of Myers, being that young age, and then seeing him on the big screen was just an experience. So, and we'll dive into it more, but I think being the first Halloween movie that I saw in theaters, there's a little bit of added love to that. But yeah, man, I mean, my experience that I can remember off of the top of my head was pretty good. How about you?
So I've told the story about like my real introduction to the Halloween franchise. I was like 12 or 13. We watched 1, 2, and 4 the first night. But the movie I actually first seen was Halloween H2O. And I would have been like 10 when it came out. And we were away on a family trip. And we went to see some family. And they happened to order some pay-per-view. And they ordered Halloween H2O. And there I was, trying to be a big kid, not wanting to go to bed. And I stayed up and watched it. So that was actually Halloween H2O is the first Halloween movie that I saw. And I suspect other people around our age might have had this as a first experience for them as well.
Yeah, I think so too. Honestly, I didn't know that was the first one you saw, though. I never knew that until tonight.
I don't think I've said that on the channel before. I was so young. I didn't really... the second time I watched it, there's definitely no way I remembered any of it at all at that time. But I specifically remember my mom being completely against it, and my dad being like, "Oh, shut up, Cheryl, let him do what he wants." And that conversation I remember. So, how about the chat? What was your first time experiencing Halloween H2O? Comment down below, whether you're in the live chat or watching afterwards. We would love to hear what you have to say. With that said, let's dive into what this show is about. The Overlook Drive-In is going to be a weekly show right here on the Fandom Empire YouTube channel. As you know, we don't do the Fandom Empire show on a weekly basis anymore You still might see pop-up shows featuring the Phantom Empire gang once a month or so, where we just hop on for a couple hours and shoot the shit. But we're really trying to drive the channel towards focus-driven content. So the Overlook Drive-In you can catch every Tuesday night right here, live at 9 p.m. And just because we haven't decided what we're going to do next week, and I was only going to do this for the first episode, but I'm feeling generous. At the end of this episode, we'll let you decide what Halloween movie we do next week. However, Halloween Ends is not allowed. We have other plans for that at the channel. So you cannot pick Halloween Ends for next week, but any other Halloween movie that's not Halloween 4 or Halloween H20, feel free to pick at the end of the show, and we'll see which one ends up winning. We'll give Dean Renner another headache. So before we go any further, I want to thank the two sponsors for this that make the Overlook Drive-In possible weekly, because there's a lot of pre-production that goes into making this show work. And first up is Matt, who really needs to get back to me on whatever his project is he's doing so that we can actually advertise it, not just say his name. And then the other one is Jason Nike of the J-Man's Movie Cave. Check out his two newest videos, the Midnight Club review, which, by the way, until he showed me this thumbnail, I didn't know was out. So I'm pretty stoked that I get to sit down and watch another Mike Flanagan project. And then the top 10 modern horror movies. Go check that out on his channel. And one of them he has listed in the thumbnail is Hush, which Mike and I did on this very show in its pre-produced format about a month or so ago. So definitely check that out. Mike, did you know that the Midnight Club was out, man?
I did. Sorry, I failed you. I forgot to tell you. But I'll tell you this: I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, so I'm in the same boat as you, man. Like, my movie or TV watching is just gone crazy the past week. So, I have to make a confession here on the show. Sean, I went and saw Terrifier 2, and I loved it.
Oh, okay. I thought this was going somewhere else. Really?
Man, I loved it. Well, let me tell you, I hadn't seen the first Terrifier until a few days ago. It's just a movie that I looked at and was like, not really interested in. I knew it was a low budget movie. I watched it, and it's just gory as fuck. Like, it was like to the point. I don't know if have you seen it?
No, I've not.
Like it was really gory, and I was like, you know what? I love this. And the second one came out, and it's got really, really good reviews. And it was one of those very low budget horror movies, like lower than, Barbarian and X and all these other ones that have come out. But so I was only in the theaters for a couple of days, but it grossed over $1 million, and they decided to push it, in theaters for a little bit longer. It's not going to go crazy big, but for them, that's a huge win. I mean, that first Terrifier movie, the budget was, I think, $35,000. So they've come a long way with those first two movies. So I watched those two movies, really enjoyed those a lot more than I thought that I would. I saw 78 in the theater, which was really good.
How was okay? Did you get a decent version, or was it?
I did.
Okay.
I did. I meant to tell you that I got a decent version. The sound wasn't the best, but the last two movies that I had saw in theaters were IMAX movies. So I am in the IMAX zone now. So I'm just it's just totally different. It's totally different. So overall, though, I think it was definitely a good experience. I went and saw Scream 2 Sunday in the theater. For some, I don't know, just seeing it on a big screen is just totally different, and I loved it, man. It was really awesome. And obviously we got Ends coming up this week. I'm really contemplating on, like, tomorrow night is really my only free day that I have, and they're showing The Lost Boys in theaters, and I'm really thinking about going to see that. But yeah, man, I mean, busy week, man. I love it though. I love it. Can't be upset with it at all.
We got a ton of content coming to the channel this week, by the way. But before we do, I'm going to address a little bit of a sensitive topic here, just because a few of the people that are in the chat have reached out about this. A few of the people have my fiance on Facebook. Those of you that have reached out about the situation with my 6-week-old daughter, it's greatly appreciated. I wish I could provide an in-depth update on that, but it's going to be a couple of months before we have an idea exactly where we stand. So Just going to ask that people respect our privacy at this time, and but know that we really do appreciate it. And life just keeps giving you hits, but you got to find a way to move on. So I definitely appreciate the sentiments and the thoughts that those of you have messaged me or Jade about. It means a lot. Without further ado, though, the content that you can expect at the channel this week, Lambkin Lane. That's right. Tune in tomorrow night. So technically, Lambkin Lane is the final Halloween Ends preview, but in terms of public YouTube, it's tonight. And then on Thursday night, you will get my Halloween Ends IMAX reaction. No spoilers. I will probably be at the movie theater as I do it. And then Friday morning, you'll get Mike's Halloween Ends reaction. No spoilers. And that will be followed up by eventually here in the next 4 or 5 days, hopefully a roundtable spoiler review of Halloween Ends. So be on the lookout for that. We actually just did our Game of Thrones House of the Dragon episode 8 review, which is now up on the channel. Big time episode. Mike's going to touch on that in just a little bit. And we also did a review for Andor episode 5, along with other Star Wars news. You can find that on the channel as well. And then tomorrow you'll catch my, in the morning anyways, hopefully morning, afternoon, my reaction to the Supernatural prequel, The Winchesters, which I believe is on right now or has just finished. And then Tommy and I will, I don't know if we'll be live, but we'll be recording a full-on spoiler review of episode 1 tomorrow night, which you'll be able to find on the channel, hopefully Thursday morning. So be on the lookout for all of that. But without further ado, Mike, I think it's time to get to our news segment, the coming attractions. All right, it's coming attractions time here at the channel. More specifically, the Overlook Drive-In. And first up, dude, it's our final preview of Halloween Ends. It is opening week. I've already started to see some things trickle in, and I'm not talking from the world premiere either. I'm just wondering, dude, let's go back to 2017. They announced that there's going to be a new Halloween movie. One, did you think that there was going to be 3 of them? And 2, overall, despite, how, Kills was received by most of the public, and some of the early whispers that are out there about Halloween Ends, how do you feel about the 3 new Halloween movies that we've got, or 2 of the 3 new Halloween movies that we've gotten? And are you happy that they did them, or, sometimes is it better to leave well enough alone?
Well, to start off with your first question, I was super excited when they made the announcement to, for Halloween 2018. I thought it was well overdue in my opinion. And, to be honest with you, I like both of these films, and I know that's like stepping out on a ledge. I know a lot of people don't like Kills. Most of the people that I run into, they're not a fan of Kills for whatever reason that is, and it has its problems. I've talked about that. I've talked about that on the latest Take One podcast. Like, I understand there are issues even that I take with when it comes to Kills. When I first walked out of 2018, I was not satisfied. I thought it was an okay movie, but my expectations after so many years, especially coming off of those Rob Zombie movies, especially that second one, was just, I wanted something new. We deserved something new, and my expectations were so high that I walked out of it kind of disappointed. But 2018 has definitely grown on me, especially as an overall movie when you compare it to Kills. But I walked out of Kills really satisfied. There's parts of Kills that I really liked, like the flashback scene. Obviously, James Juice Courtney's performance as Michael in these 2 films has been absolutely phenomenal. I thought you're more of a fan of Jamie Lee Curtis's performance in 18 than I am. Not saying that it's bad, but we got another great performance out of her. We got what I considered to be the best Michael Myers in, period, in James Jude Courtney. He takes that crown from me. So there's been a lot of positives out of these 2 movies. And, I've obviously know things that had me very worried about Halloween Ends, and coming up in a couple of days that I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about, but I'm keeping my mind clear. I'm leaving everything at the door, and I'm going to go in and enjoy this experience. And now I hope I walk out saying that this is the best movie out of the three. I would love that. Um, I'm not putting my expectations to that level, though. I'm leaving everything I can at the door. This is the last movie that we get for who knows how long. Maybe sooner than some expect that we'll get something else. But as of right now, we don't know when that next thing is going to be when it comes to seeing Michael on the big screen. So I'm going to enjoy it, man. Just like I enjoyed the last two movies.
Yeah, I quite like Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills. I'm probably a lot higher on Halloween Kills than some other people. It definitely has its issues. I think pacing is one of them. A lot of Halloween movies are actually paced pretty decently. I don't
Dialogue.
find, and dialogue's the big one. The writing in it is nothing short of terrible, in my opinion. Even a step down from Halloween 2018, which I know a lot of people aren't high on in terms of the dialogue either.
I want to point this out. I had a friend of mine come on the Take One podcast this latest episode, and we were talking about he likes to write scripts and stuff, and he said that he'd studied David Gordon Green's script for Halloween Kills and just how well it was written. I haven't seen it. I know you sent it to me when you had it. I asked you to, and I still haven't gone back and looked at it yet. But he said that what is on script is really phenomenal. And I remember when we had this conversation, when you said that you first looked at the script, that you said it had the potential to be the best Halloween movie, there was, because the script was written so well. Unfortunately, I think we both can agree that didn't translate to the big screen. So I just wanted to throw that nod in there that I'm seeing multiple people now say that the Kills script was written very, very well, and David Gordon Green and I guess other people involved can really write a very good script. It just hasn't translated to the big screen. So I'm interested to go back and actually dive in and read the script.
Yeah, the script, what is on paper is better than what's on screen in multiple ways too, might I add.
Yeah.
But David Gordon Green has already developed a reputation of someone that maybe lets what's on paper get altered too much. I mean, it always does with every movie.
His decision, or?
Yeah, I don't really want to. Let's talk about that topic next week when I won't get in trouble. But yeah, he likes to play fast and loose a little bit with what's on paper, and there's more of the same with Halloween Ends, if not worse. So, but in terms of Halloween Ends, man, and again, I'm not trying to dissuade anybody from seeing this movie, because I think you should. If you're a Halloween fan, this is going to be the last time you can see a Halloween movie on the big screen for probably 2 or 3 years. It might be a little sooner than that, but we'll see. But for me, there's some decision making that is done in this film that it does not matter how they lay it out. You will not get me to agree with. And it really, really rubs me the wrong way. But it's yeah, there's some decision making that I don't know, man. I'm going into this thing, and I'm to be honest, I mean, the things I'm talking about, just not happy with it. So the way I'm looking at it is I'm going to go in knowing I'm not going to like those things. And it's probably not the things that people are thinking of either. And I'm just going to try to enjoy it as a horror movie. Give me a new modern day horror movie that Michael Myers is in, and I'll get the most out of it I can.
So being 3 days away, or really 2 days away, I know that you said that this had potential to be the best standalone Halloween movie of the three. With the things that you don't agree with, do you still think that is a possibility for you?
Yeah, I think when Halloween Ends is over, there's a distinct possibility that let me rephrase it a different way, that it is the best horror movie of the three. I think that's a legitimate possibility. Do I think it'll be the best Halloween movie of the three? Well, that's a different conversation. And without spoiling everybody about everything, I'm sure they already know most of them. I would rather talk about that next week, and we can dive into it. And I truly, I won't know how I feel till I see it. I haven't seen the film yet. Yeah, you and I know what happens in the film, but until there's some context to it and you get to experience the cinematography and the sound and score and all that other stuff that we're going to talk about with Halloween H2O later tonight, you don't know exactly how you're going to feel about the overall film. So I am going into it thinking that, is it likely that I'm going to leave this thing liking it as a Halloween movie? Probably not. But I'm totally open to the idea that they can change my mind. It's just not going to be easy.
I'm excited. One of the things that I'm really looking forward to that I think will live up to my expectation is hearing this score in IMAX.
IMAX, man. I know our boy Dean is a Dolby Cinema guy, which is great. Dolby's great too. Not that I've got to experience myself, but I've heard nothing but amazing things about it. But IMAX for me has always been the premium viewing experience. And when Halloween Ends is not shot in IMAX. It's a transfer basically. But when you do see a film that's The Dark Knight, for example, shot in IMAX, it's just, there's no better cinematic experience in my opinion.
I saw Nope, Jordan Peele's Nope in IMAX, and although I wasn't the craziest of that film, dude, I can't sit here and tell you, like, just the cinema had the look of it, like those night scenes on those IMAX cameras and the sound on top of it. Like, it's just an experience. And it's hard for me once I saw Nope and then followed that up a few months later and saw Jaws in IMAX. It's hard for me to go back and see another movie in a regular theater.
Yeah. So, I might have my time wrong on this. I think Dune came out last year. I'm losing the year, man. Whatever it is, we went to see a movie in IMAX a couple weeks before we seen Halloween Kills, and then the theater we seen Halloween Kills in wasn't just like even a normal 2D theater. It was some crap theater with not many seats, and the sound quality was horrible. And I'm telling you, it completely took me out of my viewing experience of the movie.
No, I believe I did it.
You did it.
I never do it. So, no, and I definitely agree. Again, it's so I'm excited. I think we both agree it would have been great to probably see Kills in IMAX. But let me tell you, the theater experience can either sway you in a certain direction, or it does sway you in either direction, whether it's a good experience or not a good experience. Like, I have a friend that is currently out in LA right now, and he went and saw 1978 the same night I saw 1978. He said it looked great, it sounded great, but he had people around him that were talking and on their phone constantly. I had the movie theater pretty much to myself. And those experiences, man, like, it can sway you to really enjoy it, and it can sway you to really not enjoy it. It really just all depends. Like, everything has to go the right way when you're in a theater. That's the gamble that you take, and that's going to see these movies opening night is something that I worry about, is the theater experience. Are people going to be talking? Are people going to have their phones out? And am I going to have to cuss somebody out? Am I going to have to get thrown out myself? Like, I don't know, man. It's just as soon as the previews come on, like, if you're chomping on popcorn or slurping your drink or talking, I'm like, man, shut the fuck up, please.
Yeah, it just takes, one guy or girl to ruin a movie going experience. And that is the challenge with going to see something in the movie theaters. You really don't know what you're getting. Anyways, let me remind people, we got two more topics to get to in coming attractions here, but after coming attractions, we're going to take 5 or 6 minutes and answer as many questions as you can. Obviously we won't be able to answer everybody's questions, but we have Toronto Freddy, Dean Renner, and Tommy all in the chat right now. So if you want to chat it up with them, feel free to do so. But we'll get to as many of them as we can. And if you absolutely want to get something right on air, for sure, you can always support the channel by sending in a super chat. Topic number 2, man, moving away from Halloween Ends here. Actually, before we do, let me ask the audience, what are your expectations realistically? Maybe you don't think Halloween Ends is going to be the best Halloween movie you've ever seen, but what would satisfy you with Halloween Ends? What does this movie have to do just to satisfy your Halloween taste, your Halloween thirst, if you will. Comment down below. We would love to hear what you have to say. And also, don't forget to like the stream, comment after the fact. Even if you're not on the live stream, we will take time to get back to you. And when you do those two things, it helps other people find what we're doing here at the channel. And specifically, we're really high on the Overlook Drive-In, and we really appreciate the reception we've gotten so far. And if you want to support the channel on another level, I know Mike and I have talked about doing some Overlook stuff on Patreon. We haven't finalized that. We'll get something over there, but you still have Lampkin Lane and other material over on our Patreon. You can sign up today, patreon.com/fandomempire. We greatly appreciate the support. Pardon me. Without further ado, man, there's another horror franchise that was in the news just a couple months ago, maybe not even, and now everything's silent. And I know everybody is worrying that, oh well, maybe there isn't going to be a new movie after all. I'm telling you, again, take it with a grain of salt, but I'm telling you, from what I know and understand, and from what others know that would know and understand, not only is there going to be a Friday the 13th movie soon, it's already in active development. And I think it might have been Cunningham that jumped the gun. One of them jumped the gun and opened their mouths too soon, as well as the studio or someone from the studio. And there was some backlash towards that. But make no mistake, I mean, things happen. Look at the new Blade movie. It was set to go. Everything looked like it was they were working their way towards filming, and now it's just been completely shut down with no timetable of when it gets back up. But there is, again, according to a lot of people out there, and from what we understand, a new Friday the 13th movie in active development. Wouldn't be at all surprised if you see it late next year or at the latest 2024. But the question we're asking you today about Friday the 13th is, where do you want to see the franchise go next? You had Halloween 18 do the Laurie Strode reboot, basically. You had the Texas Chainsaw Massacre sort of do a light version of that by bringing back an original cast member. Mike, for you personally, man, where do you want to see Friday the 13th go next?
A new story would be something that I want to see. I mean, let me ask you this real quick, Sean. Do you think Friday the 13th can become I guess like this David Gordon Green one? Do you think you can get 3 movies out of a Friday the 13th, in your opinion? Just yes or no?
You could probably get 8 out of a new Friday the 13th.
So
what I want something that's well, continue. Sorry.
You're fine. I know when this first came out, we talked about it on the channel as well. And for me personally, like even though I'm not the biggest, I brought this up last time as well. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of this new Scream, reboot or continuation, whatever these next 3 films, they got 3 films out of it. And obviously for me, they were able to snag a very young talent in Jenna Ortega, and obviously use the legacy characters as well to sell that movie. But I think that think about Friday the 13th. You don't really have any legacy characters, in my opinion. Tommy, the guy who played Tommy Jarvis, maybe, but really there really is no legacy characters. So you have a chance to really start brand new here. And if they can grab a very young talent like Scream did with Jenna Ortega, who is now just doing role after role after role and catapulting in her career, if Friday the 13th can do that and build a franchise off of that, I think that would be great. I think they're in a really good spot to be able to do just that. Like, I don't want to see a remake in a sense. I think it's time to just go ahead and start a new story with new characters. I would love a new final girl. We don't have a final girl for Friday the 13th. So I personally would just like to see that, man. There's a lot of young talent out there. Now, can you get the name? I don't know. Scream was able to grab, again, Jenna Ortega, which I thought was a very good snag. So for me personally, that's what I would like to see.
Like, what I want might not line up with what a studio wants, right? And what you want might not line up with what a studio wants. But I think there's, they don't make the project to be like, we really want to just give this back to fans and make them happy. That's not how the industry works, people. They want to make the money. They want the dollar bills. They're not making this thing to lose money. They're making it to profit. But I do think there are different levels of that. So where's the bar? Do they just want it to be a really good Friday the 13th movie? And it doesn't have anybody that's notable in it, or do they want to go the Halloween route where they bring in a big star like Jamie Lee Curtis, or Scream route with Jenna Ortega? And then there's other who's the fella there from The Boys who's in Scream 5. He's the son of oh my god, I'm spacing out the name.
I know who you're talking about.
He was one of the killers. Yeah.
I can't think of his name. I know exactly who you're talking about.
That's it.
Jack Quaid. There you go. Yeah.
Jack Quaid. So,
but my thing is, do you run into now what happens if your intention as a studio is to make one good Friday the 13th movie? What if it blows up? And you're in a situation like, what's his name? With the Halloween film, Rob Zombie, who didn't want to make the second film. Or you run into a director period who doesn't want to make that second film. So I don't know. It's definitely a tricky slope to go down. My personal opinion is based off what we've gotten so far from obviously these Halloween movies and recently the Scream movies. Most likely, it will do well enough for them to make another movie.
Yeah, for me, anyways, man, and maybe I'm in the minority here. The best made Friday the 13th movie for my money is the remake, starring Jared Padalecki.
So my favorite is Part 6, but right behind it is 2009. I think we've talked about this. We really love the remake of 2009. I thought it was very well done. Honestly, the rewatch value for that for me is high up there as far as just horror movies in general. Like, I've seen that movie a lot. I really enjoy it.
The tone is different from a lot of those older Friday the 13th movies. It's more serious. It's more dark and gritty, and that's what I want. Basically, I want something similar to what they did with 2009.
Now, I just want to ask, like, you saw what they did with 2009. Like, it was just a story about the kids going out to the lake house. Would you like to see something else like that, or would you like to see a little bit something more different as far as story wise?
I think most people want some form of nostalgia. I'm sure people will be clamoring for Tommy Jarvis or any of the other characters that might be, in a place where they could bring them back. But for me, man, even with Halloween, I'm not going to see Halloween for Jamie Lee Curtis. I know the general public will, but I'm going to see Halloween for Michael fucking Myers.
Hell yeah.
That's why I want to see Halloween. Same reason why I want to see Friday the 13th with Jason Voorhees. I don't give a shit who they bring back. They could cast Harrison Ford. It would be great for Harrison Ford, but I'm going to see that movie because I want to see Jason Voorhees on the big screen again.
Now, I think we can both agree that Jamie Lee Curtis is a great actress, but do you think that they fear that the movie will do a lot better if they do have that A1 celebrity lister? I feel like that's not the sole reason why they would do that, but it could play a factor as to why they would do that.
Yeah, I think it's sort of a double-edged sword. They live with the nostalgia. Nostalgia sells. It does. I mean, we're bananas over House of the Dragon right now, and even it's a form of nostalgia by being a continuation or a prequel of Game of Thrones, which Mike is going to get to here in a second. But I can almost guarantee it's probably going to be something nostalgia focused, which I'll be open to it, but I'd love to see them do something fresh, man. Just do something fresh with Jason and all new characters. Give us a compelling story from there, and just take a shot at it. And yeah, maybe you cast a couple of people that are up and coming TV actors. You go grab someone from a Stranger Things or somewhere else and put them in your movie, and it gets some more eyeballs on it. But I don't think you need to just dive fully into the nostalgia. It's been so overdone. Scream did it. Halloween did it. Oh my God, I'm blanking. Texas Chainsaw Massacre did it, but not as upfront as those two movies.
Do you, man? I'm not being biased when I say this, but I think that I would like to see Sadie Sink come in and maybe be a character. I know you haven't watched Stranger Things, but I know you know Sadie Sink from the final two Fear Street movies, the redhead girl. So I think that she would do really good in this. I don't know if they'd be able to get a Millie Bobby Brown. I think she's got some big stuff coming up, but you never know. I mean, Scream was able to get Jenna Ortega, so I mean, and now she's doing Wednesday and all kinds of. I mean, you just never know. You just never know.
Yeah, there's rumors that Millie Bobby Brown has signed a deal with Lucasfilm, which might include several projects. So we'll see if she's popping up in Star Wars somewhere.
Yeah, that's a
Probably
rumor.
for a significant amount of money. So, and that's the other thing. Hey, you want to bring in a name? It is going to cost you. So you got to be damn sure that the money that you're going to be sending out, whether it's on the back end or up front, that you're going to be able to get that money back and then some. And I do think you have studios tempted to do it without the big name because there's, if they do hit, they're not owing Jamie Lee Curtis points on the back end,
Yeah, well, I'm interested to see what comes of it. Obviously, we talked about it. You talked about it. Something is coming, probably a lot sooner than later. I think the last update I heard was announcement in December. Who knows if that's going to happen, if it's going to be that soon. But another movie that's making the headlines right now is Nightmare on Elm Street. I don't know if you saw that, but Heather Langenkamp just came out and said that she wouldn't mind coming back, and that's really the first time I've heard that from her in a long time. I've heard interviews and people ask her that, and she's like, well, the character is, I think it should be left where it is. So it was very interesting to hear her change that tone in this latest interview.
From what I understand, all signs are pointing towards the return of Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street. Halloween is going to go on hiatus for a little bit. And those two franchises are at the very least gaining traction towards coming back. And it'll be interesting to see which way they go. I just hope both of them aren't, over the top with nostalgia. I do think that these franchises can stand on their own 2 feet because people are going to see these movies for Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers. They're the reasons that they want to do that stuff. So
I agree.
Anyways, Mike, House of the Dragon airs last night. Give us a 2-minute rundown on what you thought of the latest episode of Westeros content. And by the way, if nobody caught the beginning of the show, we have a brand new episode of House of the Empire out, focusing on episode 8, House of the Dragon, a full spoiler review. And that was sponsored by our good friend Jesse, who is the sponsor of the House of the Empire show. We appreciate what he does over there to allow us to go make the content that we do. But Mike, House of the Dragon episode 8, man, how was it for you?
It was an episode that I really enjoyed, man. This is a jam-packed episode that I would say that there's a lot of stuff in here. They jam a lot of stuff into a little over 60 some minutes, but none of it felt rushed. None of it felt like too much. It was very well paced, in my opinion. I was intrigued the entire time. And although there wasn't any, let me say this: there wasn't a lot of action scenes. I just enjoyed the characters' relationship in this movie. This episode. I really enjoyed seeing Damon after all of these years, mature and be by his brother's side. I think that was probably the thing that really stuck out to me most. You see the relationship between Alicent and Rhaenyra, kind of come back to, at least for a few minutes, rekindle that flame, that friendship that they had when they were younger. That was really good to see. And obviously the guy that sticks out the most, and deservingly so, is Viserys. I mean, his character has been absolutely phenomenal through these 8 episodes. And obviously, are we talking spoilers or no?
No spoilers. No spoilers.
Okay. So just to see his development as far as a character wise, I think that he has been so solid throughout, especially really after the third episode. Man, he just went from being like those first few episodes. He kind of came off as soft and not like really putting his foot down, and then he just started putting his foot down with still having that loving side to him. But I felt like he learned how to be a loving king, if that makes sense. So I don't know. I don't think that this episode was my favorite. I still favor 7. It's very close though. Those two are very different episodes. This episode really hit on an emotional level. And they did a fantastic job with this episode. I really, really enjoyed it.
Well, if you want to hear our in-depth review of it, it is on the channel, as I mentioned earlier, House of the Empire, reviewing House of the Dragon episode 8. I will say this though, while we're on now, is I thought that this was the best episode of the season, although 7's a really close second. But I thought that there's a certain scene where a certain character makes an entrance that I thought was one of the most emotional scenes that any Game of Thrones property has given us.
It was amazing. It was amazing.
I teared up during it. I'll full on admit it. I teared up during it, and
that whole scene, though. I mean, I mentioned Damon. All of that.
Give Paddy Considine the Emmy. I'd be shocked if he doesn't win it at this point. My God. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for our coming attraction section for this show. It's time for your questions. That's right. Q&A time. We're going to get to as much of the chat as we can in the next 5 minutes or so. Let's get to some Q&A. I don't think Dr. Loomis wants us to do Q&A, Mike. Damn guy. All righty, let's see what the chat is saying. It's a super active chat again, so it's kind of hard to keep up with, so bear with us here. Just going to be picking some stuff out at random.
Give us something good, people. I know. Give us something good. I know Dean went and saw Scream 2 on Sunday. How did you enjoy that, man?
Hey, I would have gone to see Scream 2 in theaters. I think Scream 2 is better than Scream 1.
I love Scream 2. Sean, I don't know, man. Maybe I just love the fucking movie theater, but it was just an experience, man. I really enjoyed it.
Justin asks, Sean, are you a Landmark Cinemas guy or a Cineplex guy? I think Landmark may actually be owned by Cineplex. I don't know that for sure, though. I enjoy the VIP theaters that the Cineplex does. I think Landmark's quality has dipped, although Landmark has the closest IMAX screen to me. So that's where we will be going on Thursday. So looking forward to that. And I don't think Mike has Landmark or Cineplex down in the States.
No, we have AMC and Regal. Although I think Cineplex might own a Regal. I might be wrong about that. Honestly, I don't know. But yeah.
Let's see what else we have here. It is our Q&A portion of the show. If you can't tell by the text on the screen, I think that's a bit of a giveaway. Wayne Cocky says Halloween Ends better not be this year's Rise of Skywalker. Eek. I think we're all hoping that it's not that. That'd be terrible.
I wouldn't know what that means.
Linton says they're saying 50 million over the weekend. The last projections that I saw were anywhere as low as 35 and as high as 55. And in reality, it probably should be significantly higher because there's literally no competition right now. And the fact that they're saying a number that low is probably a little concerning. But we'll have to see. It's not going to make the money the other two movies did. I know people think it's going to. It's not. I will bet you my can of soda sitting in front of me that it will not.
I was about to say, don't bet anything big because I was, at least for me personally, I was in the wrong for Kills.
Yeah, Kills did better than I thought it would. So they could definitely surprise people, and word of mouth could spread, and who knows what happens, but they're definitely trending on the downside for this one. And a lot of people go, well, they only spent, 17 or $18 million making the movie. But the problem is the marketing budget for the movie. And if you're watching, they're pumping up the marketing more and more, is more than twice that, just on marketing. So they realistically, to break even, this movie's probably got to make 60 million worldwide. And that's just to break even. A lot of people misinterpret how much money goes into marketing for these things.
You think they can make 80?
Not opening weekend, but worldwide, yeah, I think it could make 80.
Worldwide. That's what I meant. I'm sorry.
Yeah, 80. Again, not opening weekend, but for sure. NMJ says, I think honestly meant 4DX and not RPX. I don't know the difference. I think 4DX is a cinematic experience. I could be wrong.
So, Sean, I had a friend tell me that he went and saw Jaws in 3D, and he hates 3D movies, and he said it was pretty damn good.
Really?
Yeah, he said he was shocked. He said he'll never take that gamble again, but he did it with Jaws just to see how it was, and he said he was shocked at how good it was.
I can't stand 3D movies, so.
Yeah, me neither.
Mark says, be better than Halloween 5 and we're good.
I feel confident that it would be better than Halloween 5 for me.
Steven says, I need an epic drag down, no holds bar battle between real Michael and Laurie. I feel pretty sure in saying you're going to get a pretty a fight anyway between the two.
So I've talked to people when I've done the Road to Halloween Ends on the podcast, man. I've asked people, like, what do you want to happen in Halloween Ends? Like, what is your expectations? And you get the generic answer. And I've asked multiple people this, what do you want out of it? And they said they just want a solid movie. But I find a lot of them, Sean, saying they want a definite ending when it comes to either killing Laurie or Michael off. I hear a lot of people say that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people want some sort of definitive ending. I try not to box myself into a category like that where I have to have this. But I typically know when I hear something that I really don't like, that it's going to be pretty hard to change my mind. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. What do we have here? I'm going through the chat. A lot of it's just the chat talking amongst each other about passionate, horror movies of theirs, and I love that. That's great. That's fantastic.
Everybody asked Sean what his top 3 Christmas movies are.
Oh God, no! Please don't. I don't have that on top of my head. Home Alone 1. There.
I love it. I'll take it.
Done.
I'll take it.
Next topic. Triple Clocks says Michael is unbeatable unless you're Superman. So is that Michael versus Superman confirmed?
Hold on. You're telling me Black Adam couldn't take Michael?
Dwayne Johnson, The Rock.
Dwayne Johnson. I'd actually pay to see that. Just regular Dwayne Johnson, not Black Adam. Just regular The Rock versus Michael. I'd pay to see that.
Our guy Terry, I haven't seen you in a little bit. Terry, going in with no expectations, but I'm excited. That's the most important thing, people. Regardless of how you think the movie might turn out, go in with low expectations and just try to enjoy the experience of being at the movie theater watching Michael Myers on screen again. At the end of the day, there's not a whole lot else you can ask for. That said, dude, I think it's time. Prepare your scorecards, ladies and gentlemen. Without further ado, we are about to go inside. We're about to go inside, Halloween H20. I can't believe the chat made me watch Halloween H20. Oh, man. Don't pick Halloween 5 at the end of the stream, please, for the love of God.
Let's go. I love the chat. I love you all.
Oh man. All right, man. Halloween H2O on Rotten Tomatoes. Let's get a look at their scorecard. They have Halloween H2O at 52% from critics and 49% from the audience score. So all around not good. Usually one of the two are decent, but
dude, I thought that was better. Like, no, I thought that was worse than what it was.
Oh, really?
I mean, yeah. I'm shocked it's like this.
I'll take your word for it, man. All right, Inside Halloween H2O, written by Robert Zappia, Matt Greenberg, and Kevin Williamson, directed by Steve Miner, produced by Paul Freeman, distributed by Miramax Films, starring Jamie Lee Curtis, Josh Hartnett, Michelle Williams, LL Cool J, Adam Arkin, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I'm going to go ahead right now, and before we go any further, Mike, and say that is the best cast ever assembled for a Halloween film. I am standing by it.
Whew. I love the cast, but you don't think that's a stretch?
No, I challenge you to show me a more talented cast than that.
No, that is actually really, really good. I would have to. I haven't really thought about it, but I might have to agree with you on that. That is very, very good. We need to take a step back and look at it.
The production budget for Halloween H2O was $17 million. Box office results was $75 million worldwide. If you guys remember, we talked about how Halloween 4 last week, and how it was only in the theaters for 3 weeks, and 2 of those weeks were spent at number 1. Halloween H2O was never number 1 at the box office and still found a way to make $75 million worldwide, which is rather impressive.
I'm wondering what it was up against. That'd be interesting to find out.
That was probably one of those facts that Sean should have looked up before going on air, since we do this.
No, you're good, man. I never even thought about doing that and looking up compared to other movies. Because honestly, you brought it to my attention. Like I didn't know it was number 3. I would have figured at least it's been one weekend at number 1, but that's obviously not the case. So it just kind of makes your mind wonder, what was it going up against?
Yeah, I mean, what other 2 movies was it going up against if 2 of them?
Seems like the other 2 movies did hella good too.
So, it debuted at number 3 opening weekend for the domestic box office. It opened July 27th, 1998. Production companies include Trakus International, Nightfall Productions, and Dimension Films. And its runtime comes in at 2 minutes shorter than Halloween 4 at 86 minutes. Mike, some facts about the film, sir. Jamie Lee Curtis was adamant Michael Myers had to die.
It's just interesting you say that, because I had watched behind the scenes. It was more to do with like Jamie Lee Curtis and her career and as far as movies and being in Halloween movies, and she kind of went into a little bit of a detail behind, what was the decision of. Well, actually, I'll let you. It was just I was just saying it was a battle behind the scenes of she wanted him to die and others did not. And that kind of led to probably one of the most hated openings in all of the Halloween movies and Resurrection. So definitely not a good look, I would say. And that kind of leads into your second bullet point.
The debate about Michael Myers being killed lasted for months, like to the point the production was delayed because they just didn't know where they were going to end up. And it actually sort of leads into the third point too, is they didn't tell Jamie Lee Curtis about the Mustafa Akkad clause until after she signed on to the movie, that you cannot kill the boogeyman. And at the same time, I don't know if talent is in position to demand a character be killed. And she's quoted as saying before she wishes she would have been a producer on the film, but most people you talk to more or less think she was unofficially a producer on the film. So there's definitely some behind the scenes drama there. John Carpenter was involved in the early production of Halloween H2O, as was Deborah Hill, but ultimately that didn't pan out. Jamie Lee Curtis has openly admitted that it became just about the money at the end of the day. Well, if I stick around and do this, then what can I go out and buy? That's not me paraphrasing. There's literally, that's taken straight from a documentary. Sorry, not a documentary, from an appearance at a con where she's talking about that. So, a lot of actors pick up projects for the money. It just sucks that this was kind of one of them. In an early draft of the movie, the shape spoke. That's right. Despite everybody or certain people coming out and saying that the shape speaks and Halloween ends, which, hey, maybe it happens, but to my knowledge, it does not. In the earlier drafts of Halloween H2O, the shape spoke. Mike, if the shape ended up speaking in Halloween H2O, would it change how you feel about the movie?
Absolutely. It would be probably worse than Resurrection. That's how much I hate that. So you can just understand, you can probably guess just off of that statement right there, Michael Myers speaking, what is the last movie ranked in all of my Halloween movie franchises? Pretty easy to guess.
So, last but not least, the mental institution in Resurrection was not an idea pitched to Jamie Lee Curtis by the writers or the directors. That was all conceptualized by her. And let me tell you, I think it shows. Just because someone might be a great actor doesn't mean that they are a great writer, director, producer, although sometimes they are. That whole sequence at the beginning of the film, I think, is arguably the worst part of that film.
Another fun fact is that same mental institution that was in Resurrection was the same institution that was in Happy Gilmore, where Happy took his grandmother to stay.
I love Happy Gilmore, my favorite Adam Sandler movie. Oh, man. So they are the facts surrounding Halloween H2O. Prepare your scorecards, ladies and gentlemen. The way that we do this is we break the movie down into 5 categories. Story and pacing is 1. Acting is 2. Cinematography is 3. Writing and directing is 4. And sound and score is 5. We score each category out of 10. And without further ado, Mike, story and pacing of Halloween H2O. So the story of Halloween H2O picks up 20 years after the events of the original Halloween movie. Technically, it's still a sequel to Halloween 2 as well. And yet they much like Halloween 4, they find ways to sort of tiptoe around certain elements of Halloween 2, which wouldn't really work, but that's just the way that they do things. Multiple Halloween movies have done that now. For you personally, man, Halloween H2O, pardon me, story and pacing, how does the film hit for you?
Before I jump into that, I just want to ask you, were you shocked at my scores? Yes or no?
No, they were about where I thought they'd be.
Okay, cool. All right, ask your question again. Sorry.
Story and pacing, man. What are your thoughts on it in the movie? What worked for you? What didn't?
So I'll touch on pacing first. For me,
I know Mike's favorite part of the movie. It's this. Oh, I couldn't help myself, man. Could not help myself. Come on, this loses a point, right? This loses a point. It's got to lose a point with this movie. Poor Mike's hiding. I can visually. You guys can't, but I can visually see Mike hiding behind his microphone right now.
We'll jump. We'll get to that. That is, I don't even know what to put that under. Anyways, I'm gonna throw it in one of these 2 categories down here. But anyways, pacing story wise, I have to be honest. I have to let everybody know from the jump that I love this movie. And I talked about it. I'm sure. I feel like a lot of it has to do with seeing it being the first Halloween movie that I saw on the big screen. For me personally, I think it is one of the most rewatchable movies. And then I mentioned this last week that Halloween 4 is one of my most rewatchable movies as well. And I think a lot of that has to do with the pacing, Sean. Like I just feel like that it starts off for me personally is, really from the jump that and just kind of goes through, and like it's a very quick watch. It's an easy watch. I don't feel like there are times where this movie lags or drags. I think a lot of films, especially horror films, can take away from this. Like when I see a 2.5 hour horror film, a la the new Hellraiser movie, I think that a lot of that can be cut down to create a better movie. And I know that might sound crazy to people. I used to think that it was the craziest thing ever, but it's true. So pacing wise, I thought was really, really good. Story wise, I thought it was pretty good too. I thought it was interesting that they decided to take Michael in this story outside of Haddonfield. I'm trying to remember, Sean. This is really going to test my Halloween knowledge. Is this the only movie that takes place out of Haddonfield that they don't go into Haddonfield?
Well, I mean, the beginning of the movie's in Haddonfield, with Joseph Gordon-Levitt and company. But other than that,
yeah,
they don't go back. And I mean, Halloween 3 would be one, but I don't know if that really counts.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just thought that was really interesting as well. Being at this private school, taking place at this private school, I thought was again another interesting take. It was a different take, and for me personally, I just thought that they really hit on it for me, and it's a movie that I just really enjoy, man. Yeah.
So the story of this film, I dig. I completely dig. And I understand why a survivor of the events of 1 and 2 would change her name and up and root her life and move across the country. Makes perfect sense.
Well, I'm glad you understand that. A lot of people, I see a lot of comments saying that they feel like that's too much, that people wouldn't do that. No, I know. I'm just saying.
Really? So, psychotic killer who happens to be your brother comes out of nowhere. Well, you're a teenage virgin who's behaving and babysitting one night, and he kills all your friends and then proceeds to kill everybody at the hospital and blows up the doctor I guess you blew up the doctor, or the doctor blows up himself, really, and leaves a body count like never seen before. And people can't understand why this woman who, they didn't find a body, isn't going to change her name and move away.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right. I need, wow. I might need a timeout for that. Wow. You know what? I'm going to take a timeout for that. Let me show the sponsor of the Overlook Drive-In here. One of them, anyways. Matt Whitfield's the other one with an upcoming Whitfield project. But the J-Man's Movie Cave. Check out his review of the Midnight Club up on his channel right now. Mike Flanagan project and the top 10 modern horror movies. All right. Now that I've reset that, I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, it's a lot of comments that I get, and then even in the new ones, like the 18, like when she is the way she is, they're like, why after all of these years it's still affecting her? I guess for 18 they're just well, I guess even in 2 it's all in the same night, so I don't know, they just don't, I guess people don't understand how that stuff can really stick with you, but it's a serious complaint. I don't get it either, but yeah.
I'm not even a big fan of this movie, and I don't get the complaints. So, I don't really know what to say there. So, wow, I didn't know that was a thing, but you live and you learn. The story I get, though, like it's a good story. It's not even executed that badly, if I'm being honest. And but there's a chunk in the middle of this movie where I feel like the film loses me for 10 or 15 minutes. And then it gets me back. But the problem with that is it's not a 2-hour movie, as you pointed out. It's an 86-minute movie. So when you get lost for 10 or 15 minutes, it definitely impacts your enjoyment of the movie. A lot of people forget that Joseph Gordon-Levitt was in this movie. And it's sad that kill was off screen, but it was so effective.
You had to throw that in there, didn't you?
I love Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Gordon-Levitt.
Me too. I mean, I loved him in his very short-lived stint in this movie. Yeah. Get crazy with the stick.
He gets killed by Halloween 6 Michael Myers because that's the mask he's wearing then. One of 4 different masks.
And the one they should have stuck with. I'm sorry, did I say that out loud?
Yeah, for sure. You know what?
Well, you asked me what I didn't like and what didn't work for me. I guess that is a good way to throw in there. I know I came back to you, but coming back to me, it would be the mask, obviously. There's no reason to switch. I never understood that. Like, we touched on it last week in Halloween 4. Why are you switching up the mask? I know there is a story about grabbing the wrong mask and this and that, but like, first of all, this one, you're throwing in a CGI mask. Like, what the fuck, man? Why not just use the mask from Halloween 6? I don't get it. I don't understand the whole switching of the mask in these movies. Like, it just blows my mind. I never understood that.
There's this jarring sequence after Michelle Williams' character clocks Michael with a rock, which apparently was enough to do some damage to Michael, where her and John are running away, and Michael proceeds to chase them. And during that 15-second chase or 20-second chase, the mask switches about 7 fucking times, which is again, I don't know who signs off on that shit. And a prime example of it is, now you see it, now you don't. And this is probably an unpopular opinion. I call it the alien mask because that's what it kind of looks like. I like this mask more than I like this mask. The eye holes in this mask drive me up the fucking wall. I'm someone that believes when you look into the shape's face, you should see the black abyss. You can't see the eyes. What is it? Is it the darkest eyes or the blackest eyes? I always get those two confused.
Blackest eyes.
The blackest eyes. And this mask had that effect. And again, it's different but effective. And I would have liked to see this mask in the movie more. But the mask doesn't really affect the story and the pacing. And Mike, I got to tell you, the story for me sold me on this film. It's compelling. I don't know if it's executed the best, but it lost a couple of points for me on pacing. But overall, man, I'm giving story and pacing for Halloween H20 an 8.
Oh, I didn't even give my score. I'm sorry. I'm giving it a 9. Again, I really, really like it. So I understand where you're coming from, where it loses you, but a lot higher than I thought you were going to give it, if I have to be honest. So I'm going with a 9.
Toronto Freddy says the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes, pardon me. And Mike's giving it a 9. I'm giving it an 8 for story and pacing. Let us know in the comment section right now, if you can, what you would give story and pacing right now. It would be greatly appreciated. We'll read it on air. And if you're commenting after the fact, we'll take the time to reply to you when we have the time. Ken's going to split it up into 2 categories. I guess a couple of them are. Ken's given pacing an 8, story a 9. I'm going to call that an 8.5, Ken. Steven's given a 9.0 and a 6.5. I can't math that right now, man. But excellent stuff. Entertainment Wizard at 9.5 for story and pacing. Wow, he's with you on this one, man. That's incredibly positive. Upon the Ventura gives pacing a 7, story an 8. Horrific execution. It lost me a little bit, the execution for sure. But they have all the ingredients there. Like, there's certain I would love someone to go back and do a whatever cut of Halloween H20, because I do believe there's a damn good Halloween movie in here somewhere.
A buddy of mine, that photo that you had of Michael looking through, the one with the big eye holes, he redid that with a classic mask, and it actually looks really, really good. If I have it still, I'll send it over to you just to take a look at it.
That would be great to share with everybody. Yeah, for sure. Triple Clock says an 8.5. Story and pacing's an 8.5 for Steve Ross, 9.5 for Jesse. Toronto Freddy says H2O is far more cohesive than 2018 in kills. Story-wise, I won't agree with the pacing with that, but story-wise, I think I might be there with you. Wayne gives it an 8.5 as well. Zach's going to give it an 8 on pacing, 10 to the story, and I think Jesse changed his vote to a 9. Well, thank you again for giving your scores. Keep track of them, though, because at the end of this, you're going to want to add them up do some math, and figure out what your actual percentage is. And the more episodes we get into this, we will have a graphic that shows all the percentages, of all the movies that we're doing.
And it's crazy because when you do that and you keep track of the score, you're either surprised of, wow, I didn't think I'd have this movie so low, or wow, I didn't think I'd have it this high.
Absolutely. It's a very unique scoring system, I think, that we have here. And we actually, Darren from the Slaughtered Lamb podcast reached out to me this week and said he really appreciated the direction that the show was going, and that the scoring format that we have here. I definitely appreciated that. And a lot of you guys have, so we appreciate the support. Without further ado, though, sorry, Mike, were you going to say something?
No, I was just going to say I sent that photo over to you if you wanted to take a look at it.
Yeah.
You don't have to do it right now.
I'll let you get to acting first, and I'll pull it up on screen. But
okay.
Time for the acting, ladies and gentlemen. So the acting in this movie, Mike, I think stands out above a lot of other Halloween movies, believe it or not. I'm just curious where it stands with you. And outside of Jamie Lee Curtis, what are some standout performances you saw in this movie?
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. And I know that you talked about it, before, about this being the best ensemble as far as like a cast. And really, when I sit back and I think about it, I really have to agree with you. And we'll jump into our best performance at the end of the show. But obviously, you have Jamie Lee Curtis, and I really love Josh Hartnett's character in this. I love his dynamic with Jamie Lee Curtis. I thought that was really well done. I thought it was very believable. I didn't think there were stretches to where that's a little too much. A son wouldn't say that to a mother, or a mother wouldn't say that to a son. Nah, it was done really, really well. So I really, really like their dynamic as far as that played out. And Adam Arkin's character was absolutely phenomenal. His kill, he sold that kill really, really well as far as getting stabbed in the back and lifted up off the ground. I thought that was really well done. So he was really good in this. And then Michelle Williams, I've always been a big fan of hers ever since Dawson Creek. I like Kevin Williamson, but I thought that was a very well casted character in this movie. And then Charlie, Sarah, and everybody really, really just sticks out, man. There's not a lot. I don't have any complaints. So, like, there's not that one character that I can pick out. And I feel like a lot of Halloween movies that, like, okay, they're annoying, or no, I hate them, or that was a little corny as far as what they said. Like, none of that really stuck out to me. I enjoyed LL Cool J's character as Ronnie. It was, I don't know, man. I just think that the acting overall was really, really well done. So far from me, 2 high scores for the acting. I'm going to 8.5.
So I said off the top here that I thought that this was the best cast that they had put together for a Halloween movie, and I stand by that. But just because you have the best cast doesn't mean you get the best performances out of your ensemble. However, I thought they did get the best performances out of their ensemble. Now, there's not a Donald Pleasance here, and it shows, even though there's some nice nods to him with Tom Kane, who thoughts are with his family. He's going through a really tough time. He suffered a horrific stroke last year that basically ended his career. You also might know him from Star Wars. Did a lot of Star Wars voiceover content as well, and did the Loomis voice in Halloween H20. So thoughts are with him and his family for sure. But the cast in this film, man, is incredible. Josh Hartnett was a coming out party for him. Michelle Williams is fantastic in anything I've ever seen her in.
Agreed. I agree. I remember her, of course, from Dawson's Creek. I mean, that's one that sticks out to me. The next door neighbor, the blonde. I mean, she's phenomenal, man. I love everything that she's in.
For sure. Adam Arkin too. You might remember him as one of the big bads in Sons of Anarchy from season 2. He is incredible in this movie. He's so believable, and like the performance that he puts on, like he doesn't even realize that basically his relationship is a lie. Not necessarily a lie, but the person he's with is not who he thought.
there wasn't a lot of comedy stuff in this movie. I mean, there was some funny stuff with LL Cool J that I thought worked really, really well. But one of the funny things that sticks out to me is it's Halloween night. It's just a few on campus, and he goes to Jamie's house or to Lori's, house or whatever you want to call it. And they are, messing around on the couch, and he's like, all he's interested in is getting in the pants, and then she's going on with this story, and he doesn't really believe it, and she sees that he gets really, she gets really serious with him, and you can see just the tone of his face change, and she's like, now do you want that drink? And he's like, yeah. Like, it was just so well done. I really enjoyed that scene.
Yeah, I thought the chemistry between Josh Hartnett and Michelle Williams was really notable in the movie. Like, if someone came out and said, so they're actually going to do a continuation of Halloween H20 to replace Resurrection, and Jamie Lee Curtis isn't going to be in it, but Josh Hartnett and Michelle Williams are going to be in it, I would sign up for that movie all friggin' day.
Yeah, I agree. That's a new one. I haven't really heard of that one or even really thought about it. Go ahead and pitch your story, Sean. Send your story in.
Oh, for sure. I'll get right on it. But for me, the acting in this film is a 9 out of 10. I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. It is fantastic. I'm a little more positive on the acting than you are. How about that? I bet you didn't think that was coming tonight.
Nah, but we still got some more categories to run through.
Absolutely. What do all of you, whether you're in the live chat or whether you're watching afterwards, give the acting in Halloween H20? Comment down below. We would love to hear what you have to say. And while we wait for your scores to come in the live chat, here is that photo that Mike promised. And I got to say, it looks pretty badass. Maybe talk.
Yeah, so I want to give a really big shout out to a good friend of mine that I met here really through Instagram and really the horror community. He watches the Overlook Drive-In and Phantom Empire. He doesn't really comment a lot, but my friend Kevin Ketchy, you might know him on Instagram as Watch Horror Films. He does a lot of filming location stuff, and he does amazing things like this. He's currently out in LA right now, for personal matters, but while he's out there, he's hitting some really good filming locations. And head over to his Instagram. It's Watch Horror Films. His work is absolutely phenomenal. But I don't know, man, I kind of got goosebumps, when I saw this photo and just realized exactly how much better it could be, when you think about the what ifs. And again, you brought up the point of somebody going back through and doing stuff like this and recreating the score and things like that could really, really elevate this film. And I had to send this over to you and get your thoughts on it.
This is badass, man. Glad that you got this for us and that we were able to share it with the audience tonight. Let's see what the chat has to say about the acting in this film. Steven is giving it an 8.5. Chris Duran brings it down 0.5. Least intimidating Michael in the franchise. I'm gonna say Don Shanks is the least intimidating Michael in the franchise, then Chris Duran. And Don Shanks is from Halloween 5, by the way. Upon the Ventura gives it an 8.5. JLC and Harnett are excellent. Love JLC as an alcoholic too. That's a wild statement. It really all worked well. Entertainment Wizard's giving it a 9. Steve's giving it an 8. Solid's giving it an 8. Jesse, perfect, a 10. I couldn't give it a 10, man, because if we ever do the Dark Knight on this channel, the Dark Knight's performances are going to get higher than Halloween H20. I gave it a 9. I was trying to be as fair as I could.
That's fair. That's pretty fair.
Heath gives it an 8.5. Mark's going to give it a 6. JLC's fine, but LL Cool J talking about boobies kind of takes me out of it.
You don't like the big melon breast? Are you kidding me? You don't like the big melon breast? The big melon what?
Mark right now. All in good fun, man.
Yeah. I love it, though. I love all of that. I love all of it. Don't you go get your ass fired.
Freddie's just going. He's still traumatized from 18 and kills. Every time he kills, he transcends.
Damn, Freddy is just he's in a zone. He's like, you're talking about what movie now?
That line no longer is nearly as bad for me as some of the other ones that have come out since. So
I agree with you though. That just I'm hoping that has to just be for the trailer. It just has to be a
the
voiceover.
Boogeyman comment in the trailer and stuff. Oh yeah, it's.
But you can kind of tell a lot of it's voiceover too. So I don't know. We'll see.
Well, she did say "Happy Halloween, Michael" before knocking him down the stairs at 18. So, man. Wayne Gotke gives it an 8. Somebody forgot to tuck the mask in, says Ken. Indie Phantom says 6. Toronto Freddy's going to give it an 8.5. Really appreciate everybody's insight on the acting in this one. It really does mean the world to us when you just participate in the chat again during the live stream or even afterwards. Man, we're rolling through this, enjoying this, but next up is cinematography. Mike, one of the best shots in this movie, I have a picture of it, is I had a picture of it. Okay, right here. We had this up earlier. I dig this shot where she's getting ready to go back to take the fight to him. I just don't know if it's executed the best after this, but there's some really great shots in this movie. The opening sequence with Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Marion is really, really good. I like the way that is shot.
Yeah.
I gotta say though, man, the one area of this movie that I thought did not get shot particularly well is the fight between them at the end. I'm on board with the cinematography up until that point, and then there's some shot selections that have me bewildered at times during the end fight.
Yeah, I would say that there's some shot selections that really aren't my favorite, and I think some of those stick out to me as well. That's why it's obviously not a 10 out of 10 for me. Breaking news. But I still have it as a pretty high score for really everything that you said. I mean, for the longest time, up until, maybe for me personally, a couple shots in that battle scene that weren't shot the way that I would do them. Overall, I thought the cinematography was really good, and you kind of touched on it. This shot right here is just really, really badass. I love how once she breaks the glass and grabs that axe and she walks around that corner there and up onto that little mini hill that she's standing on. The camera kind of pans back and she yells Michael's name. I think that is just a scene that still gives me goosebumps to this day. And one of the ones as far as cinematography that sticks out to me is what you mentioned, the opening. That felt like Halloween to me. Like, that's something that I wanted. Like, as soon as that song came on, Mr. Sandman came on, and the knife hit the pumpkin, and you see the kids are running. Sandman. Yeah, I just thought it was shot really well. The color grade was done really well. The kill that you have on your screen right there was done really well. The fight in the house, it was shot really well. When we first see Michael pop up when Marion is looking out that front door, is done really well. That whole opening scene although it's not number one, it's really, really high on my list as far as my favorite opening scenes. It's just, I love everything about it. So for me, overall, it's not a perfect 10. It's not even a 9, but for cinematography, I did give it an 8.
Again, I'm on board with a lot of the cinematography choices in this movie. Like even this one right here really makes you feel like, oh man, he's right there and they have no room to back up. It builds tension. It's a great choice. Again, there's a lot of shots in this movie I dig. The concept of this shot here, despite it being different masks or even the one that your buddy took there, is great. Like I dig it. That being the first encounter through the glass hole. It was the main thing in the marketing. I don't know if anybody remembers, but when they were marketing this movie, that shot right there was the number one thing that they kept showing in the marketing for this film. And I really dug it. Again, excuse me. There's a lot of good here.
Yeah.
And then I just get reminded of this.
Yeah, that's again a very, very bad decision. I just don't get that decision. Like, even the mask that you showed that they had of him looking through the glass, is as bad as that was, use that mask. I just don't understand the switching of the mask, and I never will. I'm sorry. I mean, we can agree, that is not the best mask right there. The eye holes are too big, but it's a hell of a lot better than that CGI mask. I mean, I would say I'm sorry, but I'm not. It just is.
Imagine if the head that was just laying there was the CGI mask. Oh boy, that wouldn't have had the
Yeah.
same impact.
True.
Oh man, I am giving cinematography, man, of this film an 8, and I thought I was rather generous with that,
Sean.
considering some of the choices that were made.
Man, you're on a roll, man.
So
I know
you're surprised with the score and so far.
Well, even if the other two, I'm sure the other two are really low. I know one of them is really low for you, but still, even at that point, I'm pretty shocked that. Wow. Okay, I'm satisfied you're at where you're at.
To be clear, we're not hamming this up at all. I know Mike's scores because I'm the one that whips the graphics together. Mike does not know my scores when we go live. It's complete surprise for him. We keep that hush hush. That way, the reactions that he has on air are legitimate. It's not like, oh my God, I can't believe you gave it an 8, even though we had this conversation of it being an 8 earlier in the day in the pre-show meeting. It's not like that. It's completely legitimate. And we wanted to bring you guys something that is real. And speaking of real, let's get to the writing and directing. Oh, sorry. Pardon me. I jumped ahead. Apologies. What do all of you think of the cinematography in Halloween H2O? Now, you can say what you might not like the new movies at all, but the cinematography in the new movies has been on point. Dare I say, arguably the best in the franchise, right there with Halloween 1 and Halloween 4. This film is not that, but it still does a pretty good job with what it had to work with. And they were kind of confined in areas too, right? Like they didn't the main area where they're fighting is not on some soundstage somewhere. It's the same house that they shot Scream 3 in. So when you're not working on a soundstage, you don't have that extra space to maneuver at times. And I thought that showed in this film more so than it shows in some of the other ones.
Yeah, I kind of appreciate that though. As although it might not work out, I'm just like a on location type of person. But
absolutely. So again, whether you're in the live chat or you're watching after the fact, comment down below. Share your score out of 10 for the cinematography. We would greatly appreciate it. First one in is Mr. Eric Dickinson. Pardon me, he's not the first one. I missed a couple. Eric Dickinson says it's a solid 7.5. The Joseph Gordon-Levitt stuff looked weird and awful. Really? I thought that was some of the better stuff. But hey, we're all entitled to our own opinion, and I'd be curious to hear further where it just didn't really work for you. If you want to share that, anyways. Ken is giving the cinematography a 7. Interesting. Zach's given it an 8. He'd rank it the 4th best shot Halloween film under 78, 2018 in kills. I would put it under Halloween 4 as well. I think 4 is shot better than H2O. Mark says it gets 7.5 because of the shot at the beginning with Nurse Chambers with Michael at the door is awesome. It's fantastic. An 8 from Steven, an 8 from Indie Phantom, an 8 from Entertainment Wizard. Toronto Freddy says, I think Mr. Sandman would be better fit for Freddy. Michael Myers has absolutely nothing to do with dreaming. That's a valid point. Jesse's given it an 8.5. Greatly appreciate all you guys sharing your score. Oh, upon the Ventura, 2.5 for cinematography. Film should never have been shot like One Tree Hill or a 1990s rom-com. Don't you bash One Tree Hill.
I'm about to say, you're talking to One Tree Hill fans right here. We are One Tree Hill stands, damn it. I didn't think it was glossy at all. Again, I personally like the color grade.
Yeah, it might be too bright at times, but it's also, it's not shot in Haddonfield. It's shot at some, preppy private school out in the middle of nowhere, California. Wayne's given it an 8. Interesting. And Indie Phantom says, watching the early films, I don't think the new stuff quite captures Cundy, but it's a valiant effort for me. So glossy, says upon the Ventura. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're moving on. Writing and directing. So this one's a tale of two Tates for me, man. You have the writing of the film, which I think is really good. I enjoy the direction that they take the story, despite other people hating it at times. I enjoy the direction that they take with the story. It made sense. The directing of the film, though, we just spoke about the 4 masks. That shit's inexcusable. There's no place for it. So, like, as much as I'm for the writing, there's some directing choices in this film that make me want to punch my computer monitor at the moment. And so, I don't have too far to dive into this just because we've talked about a lot of the things that would be in this category already. But I dig where they go with Laurie in this movie. I dig the relationship she has with John, because guess what? Trauma is a real thing, and Jamie Lee Curtis isn't going to let you forget it. But no, like I completely support the direction they went with this movie, and it really affects the relationships of all the characters in this film, because the way John perceives his mom is far different than how the students perceive his mom, and we hear a little bit of that banter in the movie. But again, I come back to the 4 masks and the what seemed like a cool ending, but ended up not being the ending. And it's sort of a mixed bag for me, man. I'm going to generously give it a 7 because I really like the writing, but I think there's some very inexcusable things with the directing.
Dude, you're shocking me. Like, I'm just curious to see where this film ranks on your rankings. But anyways, we'll talk about that another time. For me, I again, they're not too much to jump into here. Stuff that we've already talked about. I love the writing, just like everything that you said. There were some directing choices that obviously The Mask is probably the one that sticks out to me. I mean, that's a big problem, especially that one right there. Please take that off the screen. I just don't. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too generous, but I love the writing so much, and just where this story goes and where really the dialogue goes. Like, there's not one line in this movie that I personally think that the dialogue is corny or doesn't make sense. I thought it's very well written. Again, some directing choices, but for me, I gave it an 8.5. Man, I really enjoyed the writing, and yeah, I'm gonna give it an 8.5.
So let me ask you this: outside of Jamie Lee Curtis's character, Laurie Strode, who do you think's the best written character in this film?
Man, that's tough, and it's probably a cop out, but I have to go with John. I think that Josh Hartnett's character is outside of Laurie's character is really the one that we see kind of explored the most, as far as what he's going through and what he's been feeling these past 17 years, right? He's just tired of being in that environment. He's tired of being in the shadow of Laurie's brother, that I'm sure that Laurie had put in the forefront of her life. And maybe it kind of seems like John has always felt like he's been on the back burner to the ghost of Michael Myers in his eyes. And so for me, one, because of Josh Hartnett's performance, but as far as the actual writing, I have to go with his, because I think that we kind of see that emotion on screen. And a lot of credit to Josh, but as far as written wise too, I have to go with his character and John. What about you?
It's John. Maybe it's a cop out, but the dynamic relationship, and this is coming from somebody who doesn't have a very good relationship with his mother, and without diving too far into it, for similar reasons. Not that my mom got chased around by Michael Myers, that didn't happen. But
never know these days.
When you have a parent who smothers you and doesn't give you space, and she's taking out her trauma as trauma, as Dean Redder was saying in the chat. It will absolutely impact the relationship that you have with her, but all your other relationships too. And I don't know if this movie gets enough credit for how they deal with such a sensitive topic. I mean, it came out, what is it now, 24?
I was going to say, especially
the 25th anniversary of Halloween H2O. That's nuts to think about right there.
I was going to say, especially in its time. I'm glad you brought that up.
Oh, for sure. And I think they handle it very delicately and rather accurately, in my opinion. But again, what do all of you think of the writing and the directing in Halloween H2O? Comment below or comment live. We would love to hear what you have to say. Let's bring up some scores right now. Heath is going to say, if these are combined, writing and directing, 6.5, being generous. And if these were separated, the scales wouldn't be weighed the same. I completely concur with that thought. Jesse's going to give it an 8. Wayne Gaki says only Halloween 2 and H2O give Michael a definitive ending. Does H2O really give him a, I mean,
we're going to dive into that.
Yeah, I don't know if either of them are definitive. I mean, I know there's movies that follow, but I'm going to disagree with that. Like, if you're going to say that, you could say Halloween 4 was a definitive ending too. And but then they went and made Halloween 5. So, which was not planned, by the way. They originally wanted the guys that made 4 to come back, and they weren't willing to do it. And so, rather than take time to put out something good, they rushed out something the very following year. Story and directing gets a 5 because it felt more like Scream than Halloween to me. Yeah, I think that's fair. I do, considering the time. Zach's given it a 7 for both writing and directing. There's a plot hole with where has Michael been for 20 years, but the overall story with Laurie and the others makes up for it, in my opinion. I don't think there's a plot hole at all there, man. I'm going to disagree with you. I think the idea that Michael just vanished for 20 years is far more scary and eerie than anything else.
And to the last comment, the whole feeling like Scream thing, you got to remember Kevin Williamson is involved in the writing. For me personally, I'm a big fan of Kevin Williamson. I like Dawson's Creek. I like Scream. I like H2O. Me personally, I'm a big fan of Kevin Williamson. I'm not sure. I haven't been on board with all of his decisions. But overall, I think that he's done a pretty good job, in my opinion.
Steve Ross says he's given it a 7. Indy says, man, seeing those characters' faces of the young cast reminds me of how much I did not like the script or them. 5 for me on writing, directing more effective in horror scenes, maybe a 7. Ken says 8. Some of the direction choices, like the mask changes, do lose points. So yeah, it's unacceptable in my opinion. Entertainment Wizard gives it an 8.5. Wayne says Halloween H2O handled Marion better than Halloween Kills did. Well, that's not a high bar. The bar is quite low on that one, Wayne. Mr. Gotke.
This is for Dr. Loomis. Again, I like Kills for what it is, but that dialogue is horrendous.
My goodness. Also, by the way, if you haven't yet, whether you're watching live or you're watching after the fact, pardon me, take a second. Click the like button. I keep going out of focus here. Apologies. Click the like button. It helps other people find the stream. We would greatly appreciate it. I'm trying to get myself back in focus here, and it's not working. All right. Without further ado, let's move on. Final topic. Topic number 5. Category number 5 in your scorecards. The sound and score. All right, Mike, walk us through it, man. Sound and score on Halloween H2O.
I already know this is your lowest score. And I haven't seen Sean's score. I'm trying to remember the comments of like watch alongs that we've had or that has been on the channel. I'm pretty positive this is his lowest score. And to be honest with you, it's my lowest score as well. I'm not the biggest fan of the entire orchestra type of, music that is played throughout this movie. For me personally, I don't think it is horrendous. Scorchester, I butchered that, but yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of it, and that's why it is my lowest score. I mean, there's no reason to dive in detail of it again, and my score is going to be high. and I'm sure Sean and a lot of people are going to be shocked by it, but it wasn't the best, and that's why it is my lowest score. But it's my favorite. It's one of my favorite movies, man. I gave it a 7.5.
Just kidding. I was gonna be like, "Fuck you, I'm gone." No, hey, we're all entitled to our own opinion here, and don't be afraid to share it in the chat, everybody. Your opinion is your own, and my opinion is this score is an abysmal, dumpster fire, lackluster, non-Halloween piece of shit.
Boo!
And not just that, the sound design on it is way over the top at times with some of the kills. If you take this movie, get rid of the 4 fucking masks and decide on one mask, trim out 5 or 10 minutes in the middle of the film, and change the whole fucking score, I think it's arguably one of the best Halloween movies made. But none of that stuff happens. Well, whoever has a lot of time on their hands and money, go make those changes to Halloween H20, and I'll just watch that version. It's terrible, man. Takes me completely out of the movie. What they did with the main Halloween theme makes me cringe. I'm sure the combination of John Carpenter and Alan Howarth are just, rolling around, smacking themselves in the head, being like, oh my God, what the fuck is this shit? Because this is where it lost me. Sound and score is a 4 for me. And originally I had it
higher than I thought.
I had it at a 2, and I thought there's some sound design moments that I do enjoy in this film. So I'm going to boost it and I'm going to give it a 4. But my God, they could not have, hey, it's the Dawson Creek theme. They might as well have just fucking had Dawson Creek music in this movie, considering what they went with.
I don't want to wait. I love that. Let's go.
For this movie to be over. Anyway, what did all of you think of the sound and score? And just remember, Mike is an Eagles fan after all, so his 7.5 is forgiven. No, his score is his own, as mine is my own, as is all of yours. What do you give the sound and score? Comment down below. We would love some of your insight on this for sure.
Man, I'm shocked by your scores, Sean.
Mark says 4 is the weakest score in the series. I agree. It's worse than Halloween 5. Now, Halloween 5 does have the cop music, so it's right there with it.
What's wrong with 5?
I just don't like the score in it at all. Sound and score is a -5. I don't think that's on the score bar for us. Jesse gives it a 6. Mary D says, my favorite part about the score was the snippet of Psycho theme during the Janet Leigh scene. I'll be honest, I've never noticed that. I'm gonna have to go back and check that out now.
There was a lot of things that I didn't notice. Like I don't know if you noticed this, Sean, but the car that she was driving was the exact same car in Psycho, license plate and stuff. Little stuff like that I really didn't know. So that's a good tidbit. Thanks for sharing.
Zach says score gets a 7. Sound gets a 7. Score gets a 6.5. 1.0 for the score from Ventura. Well, at least it wasn't a 0, man.
Man, I think he's given this movie a 2 or a 1.5. His scores have been terrible.
Dean says it's way too over the top and orchestral. I thought you had it best with the what was it, Scorchestra earlier. 6 for the score for Indie Phantom. 7 for Steve. A 4.0 for Steven. Halloween 5 clown noises over the Scorchestra. I agree.
I can't agree with that.
5.5 for sound and score. I thought H78, H2, and 2018 were some of the best. A 5 from Ken feels more like a cop-out. I'm using a Scream score. All right, man. So the scores are in. We will come to our totals in a second. But now for a couple of topics off the scorecard, the best kill.
No! 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 No!
All right, dude. What's the best kill in Halloween H20?
So when I sent you this, you were like, "Is it really though?" And yes, it is in my opinion, and that's gonna be Michael's death. Um, for me, this is probably my favorite Halloween timeline. Is Halloween 78, Halloween 2, and H2O. I know Resurrection is attached to this timeline, and it really fucks with my head because I hate Resurrection and one of the biggest reasons of Outside that it sucks is because of the way that they handled H2O and the ending of H2O. Like, I honestly feel like, for me personally, Michael and Laurie's story ended when she chopped his head off. Whenever I ask somebody what's one of the things what are some things you don't like about H2O, they'll say the mask or the score, and then somebody always throws in, I don't like the fact that he survived and he switched outfits, and I'm like, okay, well, please shut the fuck up. And to be blunt, because that's Halloween Resurrection. That's not Halloween H2O. That is not my Halloween H2O. That's not my Halloween H2O timeline. I thought that was a definitive ending, in my opinion, to Michael and Laurie's story. She finally won, and that battle to me it was the end of it. It was the way to go out. It was absolutely awesome. It showed, to Toronto Freddy's point, showed some serious balls. And of course, it had to be the clause by a COD that it couldn't be done. And that absolutely sucks because I thought it was absolutely a phenomenal way, one, to end Michael and Laurie's timeline. Sean, I've touched on this. As much as I love Jamie Lee Curtis and enjoy her in 2018, I've said and been on record, it's time for the franchise to move on from that storyline. And it looks like that we probably will in depth, after it ends. But for me, I thought that this was a perfect time to end Jamie Lee Curtis and as Laurie Strode and just end that timeline and end that story. So for me, it's the death of Michael Myers because that is the way that I feel like Laurie and Michael's timeline ended.
Yeah, I think for some of the reasons you mentioned there, I can't have that as my main kill. One, Resurrection happens, and it we have our headcanon stuff that we can do. And like, hey, when I was younger, my headcanon, believe it or not, was that Halloween 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6 all existed alongside Halloween H2O, and that Jamie Lee Curtis just faked her death to
I thought
one,
this, yeah, I thought the
protect her
same thing
daughter,
too.
but two, split the kids up, similar to Star Wars.
Yeah.
And obviously that doesn't work, but it's fun looking back on it and go, I wonder if they would have found a way to make that work if it would have stuck. Mark says the service elevator, as does Upon the Ventura. The dumb waiter says, it's the same guy, Upon the Ventura. A service elevator for Steve Ross. And I'm going to cop out and say that is mine too. I'm shocked that it's not Mike's. That whole sequence is, I think it's the best horror sequence in the movie, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's really good. I think that was number 2 on my list when I did the kills for the Take One podcast. That was easily number 2. It's just I don't know. I just have feelings, obviously, if you couldn't tell, about what should have been the end of Laurie Strode and Michael's story. So, it is what it is.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to choose an MVP for Halloween H2O. Who is your Overlook MVP? Who was the best performer? Who had the best performance in this movie? Comment below. Mike, I suspect our MVP is the same. I don't know how you could not go with her. Jamie Lee Curtis, despite her not being on board with the creative of this movie, came and she didn't just show up and lay an egg. I thought her performance as the mom who has gone through a bunch of trauma, and the relationship with John, and just the depression and the pills and the alcohol. Laurie Strode's a mess in this movie, an absolute fucking mess, and she plays it damn fucking good, man. Jamie Lee Curtis and Laurie Strode are my Overlook MVP for Halloween H2O.
You took the words right out of my mouth. For me personally, this is my favorite Jamie Lee Curtis performance, Laurie Strode performance. I feel like that she is at the top of her game in this movie, and it's the best, in my opinion, that we've got out of Jamie Lee Curtis. She came out and said that, she did it for whatever reasons those were. It's not like at least she came and delivered a great performance, right? So I really appreciate that. And to your point, I mean, we go back to the writing and the way that they touched on, this dynamic in this topic was very sensitive, especially at the time. To do that, and I just thought the actual performance was just phenomenal, man. And I'm glad that you agree with that. Again, there were some standout performances, but I definitely think that Jamie Lee Curtis stands on a shelf of her own when it comes to Halloween H2O. She was absolutely phenomenal. So, just like you, Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie Strode is my Overlook MVP for Halloween H2O.
So before we close things up with our final scores, I just want to get ahead of this one. Mike and I don't have a Halloween movie picked for next week. It cannot be Halloween Ends, and it obviously can't be the two we've already done. The first person to answer this trivia question correctly will get to choose what movie we do next week on the Overlook Drive-In. It has to be Halloween. It's a Halloween month. And the trivia question is, what year did Halloween 5 come out? What year did Halloween 5 come out? Comment down below now, and if you get it right, you will be the one that picks the movie next week. Any Halloween movie that's not Halloween Ends, Halloween H2O, or Halloween 4. Ideally not one either, because it's so predictable and everybody does one. There's 10 billion videos out there for one, but we'll do it if we want. The first person to answer is Entertainment Wizard. So comment in the chat, man. You're choosing next week's Halloween movie. Please, oh man, who knows what he's going to pick here? I have no idea what he's going to pick, but let us know.
I don't know. His scores have been on point with mine. So if he comes through and picks a movie that I love, my man, I love it. Entertainment Wizard, my guy.
There you have it. Halloween 2 next week on the channel from 1981. I'm stoked for that. I haven't done Halloween 2 on this channel since the early days. So strap yourselves in. We're going to do Halloween 2 next week. It's going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait to do that with each and every one of you. It's scorecard time, though. Get those scorecards out. Hopefully you have been tallying your scores. Here's what Mike and I's solo scores came out to be. As long as I don't forget how to do this. I had Halloween H2O at 72%. Mike had Halloween H2O at 83%. I thought Halloween H2O was going to be higher for Mike and lower for me, and I was wrong on both fronts.
Yeah, super interesting. I wouldn't say for me, because I have 78, 2, and 4 ahead of this. So I think it falls right in the ballpark.
Do you? Because like when I break down a movie, just because I think a movie has been made better than another movie doesn't mean that I like it more than another movie.
Well, see, yeah, I think so, man. Because when I was doing my scores for H2O, I'm like, man, was this higher than 4? Because I had 4 in my ranking ahead of H2O, but I'm like, man, I don't remember, Sean, like off the top of my head. I can't remember what my score was for 4 off the top of my head. And I was like, I don't know. But I'm glad you brought up that point, because it's true. It's true. Just because a film is made better doesn't mean that you enjoy it better as well, either. So, because one, there's rewatch value for some people. Like there's movies that I think are better as far as rewatch value that I don't think are better made movies. So it just all depends. But I am shocked by your score.
Oh, thanks, man. I was too.
So this doesn't change your ranking though. This is just as far as made movie, correct?
We'll definitely do something channel wise with our updated rankings after Halloween ends. So I don't want to tip my hand for that yet.
Gotcha.
Steve Ross says his overall score is 77%, right smack dab in the middle of us.
Nice, man. Glad you were able to do that.
Which brings our total score to the following. Story and pacing comes in at 85%. Acting is an 87.5%. Cinematography is 80%. Writing and directing is 77.5%. And sound and score is 57.5%, bringing the overall score for Halloween H2O on the Overlook Drive-In right here on Fandom Empire, a grand total of 77.5% for Halloween H2O. What was your overall score? Were you keeping track along with us? Definitely. Whenever you're watching the show, I strongly advise either have your phone handy or a scrap piece of paper, because I do think you'll get more enjoyment ranking it with us. We really appreciate when you guys do that. Steven's giving it a 72%. So that's pretty cool. He says he thinks that's a fair scorecard. Greatly appreciate that. Mike, before we get out of here, final thoughts on Halloween H2O.
Sean, I don't know off the top of my head again, but I believe this is our third highest rank that we've done so far. I believe it's The Shining 4 and then this. I believe because I know what you did last summer was a 72 and Hush was in the low 70s as well, if I can remember. I don't know if you have those scores. I want to look them up, but overall thoughts on Halloween H2O. This is a movie that I absolutely really love and enjoy. I do think it is as far as rewatch value, very rewatchable for me. I watched this a lot. I've seen it a lot already this year. I love everything about this movie. It's the first Halloween movie that I saw in the cinema, and that's going to stick with me for the rest of my life. And I wouldn't be surprised if these scores creep up a little bit for me. Some movies I watch and the scores creep down a little bit. It's just the way it is. My score for Kills and what I thought for Kills has creeped down a little bit. I still enjoy it for what it is, but it's kind of creeped down a little bit. And my score for 18 has kind of creeped up a little bit. And those things change over time, and what you love changes over time. But this is a movie that I think will be very high as far as my high regards, not only as a Halloween film, but as a horror movie for me. So I'm satisfied with my score, super satisfied with Sean's score, and I'm super satisfied with the overall score that we gave Halloween H2O for the Overlook Drive-In.
I tend to agree with you, man. Steven says he's given it a 72%. I think that's fair. Mark's given it 68. Jesse has it all the way up at 86. Toronto Freddy, 85. Entertainment Wizard, 84.5. Dean Renner says the Halloween Ends premiere screening began around 10 p.m., so it's 1 hour and 11 minutes into the film. You'll get some social media reactions, I think. People will break, you'll probably get some reviews too. People break embargoes all the time. People from overseas are already doing it with Halloween Ends. So, although it doesn't really hold for them, as someone in the chat pointed out earlier in the show. Dude, ton of fun. I did not think I was going to have this much fun doing Halloween H2O, but boy, am I looking forward to Halloween 2 from 1981. I've never seen it in 4K, so I'm going to take an opportunity to watch it in 4K before before reviewing this flick with you and scoring it, man.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I kind of already gave my hand as far as where I think it lies as far as the franchise, but if you know me and follow me, it's no big secret. So I'm actually really interested to dive in and see actually what I give it score wise. And like you said, I don't think the last time I watched it in 4K was last year. So it's I'm interested to go back and watch that. And it's a movie that I absolutely adore. So can't wait to do it. Can't wait to be back here in a week.
Where can everybody find you at, dude?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at @MichaelBish_, on Instagram at @MBish_. You can follow me. You can follow the Take One podcast on Instagram, Take One Pod _. We just wrapped up Actually, I had an episode come out today. It was the last episode for The Road to Halloween Ends, obviously, and we reviewed Halloween Kills. Really enjoyed that. Really good episode. We're gonna have a Halloween Ends episode, obviously that is not live, but it drops next week, and it's a really good panel. Sean's going to be a part of that. So look out for that sometime next week, Wednesday or Thursday, most likely Thursday. So again, really excited to be here, and can't wait for next week.
If you didn't tune in last week, we have Halloween 4 up on the channel right now. And if you're waiting for the next Overlook, or you can't wait for the next Overlook, we have 3 reviews that we did pre-produced style, and that is Hush, The Shining, and I Know What You Did Last Summer, the original. Check them out on the channel. It'd be greatly appreciated. If you want to support the channel on another level, you can do so over on Patreon, patreon.com/Phantom Empire. It's what keeps the lights on around here and allows us to come out and make the content that we do. Don't forget, Mike and I have non-spoiler reactions coming to Halloween Ends this week, and tomorrow you'll have a non-spoiler reaction to episode 1 of the Winchesters, followed by a full spoiler review of that. And up on the channel right now is our House of the Dragon episode 8 review, alongside our Andor episode 5 review. Halloween Ends, we're almost there, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy the film, block out the noise. You waited 9 fucking years to see a Halloween movie after Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. I guarantee you're not waiting 9 years again. I promise you that. Barring some sort of clusterfuck of events, you won't wait that long again, but it could be some time before you see it again. So please, regardless of what you think of the film, try to enjoy the experience. Go with some friends, go with your significant other, and just enjoy it. For everybody else at Phantom Empire, the mods in the chat right now, Toronto Freddy, Dean Renner, Tommy B, to the sponsors, Jason Nike and Matt Whitfield, and everybody else at Phantom Empire, we thank you. Have a great fucking night. We'll see you next week on the Overlook Drive-In. And don't go into that room with Mr. Grady. Bad things happen.
Go Birds! Go Birds!